ensures free heating and plumbing service and installation for generations. Call 609-390-3907 or visit broadleys.net. Manhattan Bagel. Looking for a quick snack or a full meal? Easy to use menu, customize how you'd like, place your order, and sit back. ManhattanBagel.com has you covered. Start fresh, fast, order online for pickup and delivery. And Kindle Auto Plaza, the area's best selection of Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Wagoneer. Off exit 10 on the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard. Call 609-465-5000 or KindleAutoplaza.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media, South Jersey.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio. Here's Josh Hennig.
Welcome back from Labor Day weekend. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. We got a jam-packed hour. We got to get right into it here. Of course, you guys can join the conversation throughout the hour at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Let's set the stage for you guys. Coming up in less than 20 minutes now, we will talk with New York Times best-selling author Armen Keteyian. Armen, he is the co-author of the brand new book, The Price, which is about basically the state of college football in the NIL era. And it really digs deep into how we got to this point, right? How we went from the way college football was basically orchestrated for years to end up at this point, and some behind the scenes information on the biggest names in the sport, like your Nick Sabans, your Kirby Smarts, your Dabo Sweeneys, etc. So we'll get into that in less than 20 minutes. Also, at 6:40 tonight, we will talk with Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press. Rob will join us to talk about the latest in the NFL. Trent Williams finally gets his deal done. We'll get Rob's perspective on the Eagles heading down to Brazil, because a lot of players, they have been very vocal that they do not want to go to Brazil. They are not fans of this trip at all. So we'll get into all of that and more here on 97.3 ESPN. But let's dig deep into the latest news of the day. So the Phillies are in a very interesting situation because they still do not have Alec Boehm back from the injury. And the Phillies did their job over the weekend, right? They got 3 out of 4 against the Braves. The first time in 10 years, the Phillies have won 3 straight series against teams that all came into the series at least 10 games over 500. Castellanos with the clutch hitting, right? 5 RBI during the 4-game series. He has 4 of the Phillies' 8 walk-off winning hits this year. And the bullpen, it was excellent, okay? Hoffman and Strom combined to pitch 5 innings and had 7 strikeouts, gave up no runs. Overall, the bullpen only gave up 3 earned runs in 15 and a third games, and all 3 of those runs were allowed in the 1 loss to Atlanta, which they were already losing the game anyway at that point. So the Phillies are actually looking like a competitive postseason baseball team. But now we get approached with the Alec Boehm question. And the Phillies gave us a pretty straightforward answer to that earlier today when they didn't put him in the lineup. And the reason why this is significant to me is not as much because I think them playing without Boehm is going to hurt them in the short term, but I'm a little surprised that the Phillies didn't just place him on the injured list and just say, look, let's take him out off of the roster altogether, and let's just get somebody else on the roster, bring him up here. It kind of felt like a strange decision for them to just go day to day with this Boehm hand, wrist bruise, whatever you want to refer to it as. Stinger, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can come up with a lot of phrasing, but they at least learned their lesson, which was stop playing Weston Wilson at third base. Who cares you acquired Austin Hayes at the deadline? Your best lineup is Sosa at third, Rojas in center. You have to exchange the theoretical potential of having a better offense and sacrificing defense. Weston Wilson is just not a good third baseman, okay? He has had an error every time he's played at third base for the Phillies this year. And Austin Hayes, let's be realistic. This is to the Phillies at this point what Buddy Hield was to the Sixers at the NBA trade deadline. It was a move that made sense at the time, but it doesn't make sense here in the present. So what do? If you don't have Boehm out there, what is your lineup? Well, your lineup is going to have Edmundo Sosa at third because he is the best backup third baseman on this team at this point. And then you put Rojas in center, put Marsh in left field, and now you maximize your defense. Because if you're going to be a team that is not going to bash your way to winning series, you need to at least have a defense out there that is going to offset that. And at the end of the day, you can't go into every series expecting Castellanos to be, the guy to save you all the time. Has he batted 380 since they got back from London? Yes. Has he batted 388 since the All-Star break? Yes. Does he have almost an RBI per game since the All-Star break? Yes. Check all the boxes. He's doing his job. The big key over the weekend was Harper finally came around with the 3 doubles, finally came alive. That's the key. This team needs all of their guys to hit to be successful. All right. And I think that is the big takeaway for me for the Phillies as they play the Blue Jays tonight. And of course, as the Phillies, they are basically going to win the NL East. It's just going to be a question of which seed do you have in the postseason? And I think that's going to be the conversation we need to have moving forward here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Tuesday night. Right now, the Phillies are 81-56. They're right behind the Dodgers for the number 1 seed. And just a friendly reminder, the Phillies their point differential at home versus the road is a massive difference. They are almost 100 runs better at home than on the road this year. They have 47 wins at home. They have 34 on the road. And if you're wondering, that 47 wins, that's the most in baseball. So Philadelphia, for nothing else, needs the 1 seed to put themselves in the best position to be successful in the postseason. Now, I'm not going to act like if they had to go to the Dodgers for the NLCS is going to be the end of the world, because realistically, the Phillies are the one team the Dodgers cannot beat in the National League this year. So it wouldn't be the end of the world, but I will see them get home field advantage. Flip it over to football now before we hit the break. It was, and we'll talk more NFL and Eagles with Rob Maaddi coming up in about 30 minutes from now. He'll join us at 6:40 tonight, but Armen Keteyian is going to join us on the other side. And I've gotten through the first 6 chapters of his book, The Price. And I have a major takeaway from reading this book. And I was glad I was reading the book while I was watching college football over the weekend. Some of the biggest takeaways this weekend in college football were the teams that didn't show up. Clemson got crushed 34-3 by a Georgia team that I think most of us believe would take a step back this year, and they look like they didn't take a step back at all so far. Oregon did not crush Idaho. Idaho is barely a good, competent college football program, and you beat them 24-14. You know who did crush their opponents this weekend? Texas. Yeah, destroyed them. Alabama, better than we thought against a Western Kentucky team that had brought back 10 starters from last year. Penn State went to Morgantown, crushed West Virginia. I got to admit, I didn't see that coming. I didn't expect them to crush them. I thought they'd win, but not smash them like that. And by the way, for all of the consternation people had about Florida State losing in Ireland in week 0, well, apparently that was not an anomaly because they lost again last night to a Boston College team that is supposed to be inferior in terms of talent. Well, guess what? Not so much, my friends. So I felt like over the weekend, you saw a major separating of the men from the boys in college football. I think that it is a major issue when you have a situation that you look around and you see how much better Georgia was than Clemson, how much better Texas was than Colorado State, Alabama winning 63-0, Ole Miss winning 76-0, Penn State winning 34-12. These teams are showing you who are the men and who are the boys. And by the way, the first time Miami has gone to the Swamp and beaten Florida 41-17 in 20 years. Well, what do Georgia, Ohio State, and Miami all have in common? They all have massive NIL collectives. Alabama as well. What's interesting, though, is that you would have thought Oregon would have been better. You would have thought Florida would have been better. Florida has a massive collective themselves. You would have thought the talent would have been up to snuff. We are going to get to the point where the haves and have-nots are going to be more and more so differentiated by who has the money and who doesn't to pay these players. And we'll talk more about that coming on next. Armen Keteyian, co-author of the new book, The Price. I am thoroughly enjoying this book. It's very insightful. The Price, what it takes to win in college football's era of chaos. It's more than just money, though, folks. It's more than just the dollars they're giving these players. It's the money that they're investing in the facilities. Because you look at some of the teams that had big weekends, they don't have big collectives. What they have is an investment in the resources of the universities, facilities, academia, and more. It's a big picture perspective that we're going to get into coming up next here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. with Unsportsmanlike on 97.3 ESPN with Evan Cohen, Super Bowl champion Chris Canty, and Michelle Small.
Can't wake up without it.
Brought to you by the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
Go for the endless ocean views and the nonstop entertainment. Go for the lucky whirls and the late night twirls. Go for the gourmet eats and the next level sweets. Go to celebrate. Go to rejuvenate. Go for an escape that's anything but ordinary. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TURN to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TURN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TURN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Meet DJ the Master Penny Pincher.
I'm always looking for ways to lower my electric bill. My new smart meter from Atlantic City Electric makes it a lot easier to save energy and money. I took a few minutes, logged into my account, and unlocked some cool tools like high usage alerts and customized energy saving tips I can see right on my phone. I'd say that's a pretty smart move.
We couldn't agree more, DJ. To unlock all the energy saving benefits of your new smart meter, sign up for my account at AtlanticCityElectric.com/smartmove.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate. And look at you, hands perfectly placed on the wheel. Not like the driver to the right of you who's really going after that drum solo. Save with DriveWise and the Allstate app and only pay a rate based on you.
Not available in every state, subject to terms and conditions. Rating factors and savings vary, and in some states your rate could increase with high-risk driving. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
It's common knowledge that after age 30, our metabolism changes. We have less energy and gain weight easier. There's a way to feel better, not in years or months, but sometimes in just days.
I'm Chuck Norris. I tried everything. Working with the team of health experts, we came up with Morning Kick. Morning Kick is a revolutionary new formula that combines all my favorite supplements into one daily drink.
Morning Kick has probiotics to help you lose weight, prebiotics for digestion, superfoods for muscles and joints, and powerful anti-aging supplements. It'll help you feel youthful, energized, and helps manage stress.
I look and feel better than I have in years.
Go to roundhouseprovisions.com, use code SUPPORT, or text SUPPORT to 511-511 and claim 40% off. roundhouseprovisions.com, code SUPPORT.
Every purchase comes with our 90-day money-back guarantee. You could be feeling these changes within just a couple of days.
Text SUPPORT to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Don't miss the Atlantic City in Waterboat Show. 4 days only, September 5th to the 8th at the Golden Nugget Arena. Enjoy live entertainment and outdoor dining. Buy advanced discount tickets at acinwaterboatshow.com.
Powered by the all-new BetParks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. BetParks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Nick Castellanos has a big weekend for the Fightins. I'm Nick Earnshaw with your South Jersey Sports Center and with your 97.3 ESPN question of the day. The Phillies took 3 of 4 from the Atlanta Braves this past weekend, and in part thanks to Nick Castellanos stepping up offensively. With that being said, our 97.3 ESPN question of the day is, do you think Nick Castellanos can stay consistent throughout the postseason offensively? Let us know by texting 609-403-0973 or use the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Well, I say if he can do it for 2 months after the All-Star break, he can do it during the postseason. I'll be the beacon of positivity and stick with Casty on this one. He's been really good as of late. We've seen him have big postseason moments before. I think it can happen again. Also, remember to listen to the Eagles and Packers live from Sao Paulo, Brazil this Friday night with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick on the call. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. and kickoff is at 8:15 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN, your home for Eagles football. Your forecast is next.
Whether you're tinkering in your garage or tackling big projects, if you know the value of working with your hands, you know Harbor Freight. And you can be confident knowing that at Harbor Freight, you can get quality tools at prices that work just as hard as you do. Because the only thing more satisfying than a job well done is a job well done, well under budget. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. A clear, calm, cool September night coming right up with a low temperature of 55 degrees. You may consider a light jacket or sweater overnight. Tomorrow, sunny clouds, high of 74, another nice day. Thursday, partly sunny, still dry, a bit more humid, high 73. We jump to 77 on Friday with more clouds and a slight chance of a shower thrown in too. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
You ever heard of naloxone?
Naloxone? No.
Me neither, until last night at that party. Someone yelled Jen overdosed. A guy ran up and put this spray in her nose. It was naloxone. saved her life.
Wow. Sounds like having naloxone around is a really good idea.
Right? And anyone can get it for free at most pharmacies in New Jersey. No questions asked.
I'm definitely checking this out.
Visit stopoverdoses.nj.gov to see how you can get naloxone free from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll check back on the text board in just a bit at 609-403-0973 and your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. But right now, as promised, I've been reading the book. It's by Armen Keteyian and John Talty. It's called The Price, What It Takes to Win in College Football's Era of Chaos. And we saw some of that chaos play out on the football field as well this weekend as Armen Keteyian joins us right now on 97.3 ESPN. Armen, welcome in. How you doing today?
I'm good, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing well. So before we get into, just some of the details in the book, I want you to give the audience an idea because I always love to hear from you guys. I had Connor on last week talking about his book. What kind of leads someone like you to write a book like this? 'Cause I remember your Tiger Woods book a few years ago, and that was great. And you wrote The System with Jeff about a decade ago. So talk about what leads someone like you to write a book like this.
Well, I think you have to go back to The System, which was published in 2013. And Jeff Benedict and I had worked a couple of years on that book. And, at that period of time, Josh, we were in kind of a chaotic state of big-time college football. So what was happening in realignment, soaring coaching salaries, expanded playoffs, there was a lot of stuff going on. But frankly, given what we're witnessing now with NIL and the portal and just now massive realignment, just to name the big three, what we witnessed back in 2010, 11, 12 was like child's play compared to what we're seeing now. So when I was approached about this, it's kind of an interesting story. Paul Feinbaum's name was originally attached to it with John, and I didn't know John personally. I knew of John and his work, but Paul, for various reasons, decided he didn't want to move forward, and John and I shared an agent. I had just finished the Billy Walters book, Gambler, and I really wasn't looking for anything else to do at that point in time. But when I read the proposal, and I was certainly current with what was happening in college football, I thought, this is really interesting, and particularly because of John's reputation, as I discovered. He's about half my age, but he kind of reminds me of me in a lot of ways in terms of his relentless reporting style and the kind of integrity that he had and has in the SEC and nationwide. So when we started to look at this thing, it was originally sort of built around Nick and Kirby and Jimbo, but because I could bring some other people into the equation, particularly at Michigan, at the NCAA headquarters, and ended up at Arizona and a few other places, the book got bigger and it got more sweeping, which is kind of what I like to do. It was complicated. It's not easy to do. It takes a certain skill set, and you have to have built up levels of trust in various places around the country in order to get the access that you need, as we have in this book, to bring the reader into the moment and behind the scenes, that sort of fly on the wall as athletic directors and presidents and conference commissioners and right on down the line are dealing with all this stuff. So it turned out to be a great project. I'm really proud of the work. I think it's one of the best books I've ever done. And, it's certainly getting very good reviews right now.
I'm thoroughly enjoying it myself. And you mentioned Arizona, and I'm glad you brought that up because I thought the Jed Fish chapter was one of the most interesting, Armen, because of the fact that this is a guy who basically went to the organization, the college as a whole, and said, look, we're not going to compete with these people in terms of straight collective NIL money. So let's get creative. And I think that is something that's playing out this weekend because, for example, on the field, Oregon didn't look too good, and they got tons and tons of money. Whereas some of these other schools look really good this weekend. They're not the schools who are spending crazy amounts of money on NIL. So it goes to show you that it's not just chaos in terms of the money being spent on the players, but a place like Arizona, they had to spend a ton of money on the facilities to put themselves in the conversation.
And they also had to build a culture. And I think I wrote the Arizona chapters. The first one's called Raising Arizona. And then the second one is One Last Ride, when they beat Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl to win 10 games and finish in the top 25 ranked nationally. And you also saw last weekend with T-Mac, their wide receiver, who is just a jaw-dropping talent. And so is Noah, their quarterback. They're explosive. But what was interesting to me was, like, how do you build a team in the NIL era that had lost 12 consecutive games, had gotten blown out by Arizona State in their last game, the 12th loss in a row, 70-7. Jed takes over, and his own personal story, had bounced around. I think he had been in 12 different jobs, both in the NFL and in college football. Was 40, early 40s, had almost died from an aortic aneurysm when he was 26 years old. And Arizona took a risk. They took a chance on him. And yes, he began with building the facility, the main football facility, which you have to have. And then he went out and tried to figure out, in a world where he really didn't have a lot of time, he went to Dave Hickey, the athletic director, and said, look, I'm going to raise some money, but whatever people are saying about NIL right now, just tell them that we're going to do that as long as it's legal. But that first team that he put together, that first big recruiting class where T-Mac was in it and Noah was in it and Jaden Deloria was in it and Jacob Mon, who was a terrific linebacker, that was basically constructed on nothing more than kind of a wing and a prayer. And the prayer being, come to Arizona. This is a family atmosphere. We're going to take care of you. And that family atmosphere and that family culture just grew and grew and grew because of the influx of Polynesian players. So it's a really good, from a storytelling experience. Jed and I became kind of close. He said things to me that he never said in the local papers or on a national basis. And he's now obviously the head coach at the University of Washington. And if you just want to have one idea of how chaotic things are, when Nick decided to retire, Saban retired on a Wednesday. By Friday, Kalen DeBoer, who was the Washington head coach, was the new head coach at Alabama. And by Saturday, Jed was the new head coach at Washington. So literally within Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 days, the beginning of the dominoes were already starting to fall. And I read something somewhere that said, based on Nick's decision to retire alone, some 400 plus coaches, assistants, and staffers changed positions, changed schools within college football. So that's a pretty big, you're talking about chaos. That's a pretty good example of it.
Talk with Armen Keteyian. He's the co-author of the new book, The Price, What It Takes to Win in College Football's Era of Chaos. He co-wrote it with John Talty. He's joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. You mentioned Nick Saban, and I love the Nick Saban content in there because people are now seeing a different Nick Saban because of Pat McAfee and everything. And then you make this, this parallel between this different, for lack of a term, character of Nick Saban, who drops a cuss word on College Game Day over the weekend, right?
Yeah.
Versus the one who is, he is a 24/7 workaholic, even making excuses to get out of Christmas holidays with his family. It's like, I don't think people, they don't read this book. They don't understand the ferocious amount of intensity he put into that job versus the character he's turned into now on television.
I think he's two different people. I think now, the chapters on Nick and John and I contributed, but it was really John because he's been around Nick. And I had profiled Nick for 60 Minutes several years ago, and I had been around him. I did another big profile, 3-part series for The Athletic on video. So I've known Nick dating back to his days, and he was a big part of the system dating back to his days in Miami with the Dolphins. No question that control and this ferocious work ethic. The story that Mike Loxley tells about, they had just won a national championship, and Nick, the next morning, they were already having a meeting at 7:30 in the morning. And Nick was saying, well, that was last year. We're not worrying about last year. And Loxley's going, wait a second, it was last night. It wasn't last year. So that was Nick. But now, and the reason, and I think we're very accurate in this reporting, and I've known Terry, his wife, for quite a long time, going back to the days in Miami as well. Nick was losing control. And I know when he came back after their loss to Michigan in the Rose Bowl in the semifinals of the playoffs, he went back to his beachfront estate in Florida, comes back to Tuscaloosa. And instead of having a bunch of players lined up outside his office saying, Coach, how do I get better in the off season? What do I need to do to develop to get on the field or play more or have a greater impact in the program? No, one after another was all like, Coach, if I don't get more NIL money, I'm going to go in the portal. And I know Terry said to him, what in the world are we doing here? This is not what we signed up for. And so you think about the state of college football right now, and I think Nick is happier. I know he'd still love to coach, but when he weighs all the other issues that you have to deal with now as a head coach against the world he's now in with Pat and game day crew, I think he's enjoying life. And he's 72 years old. It's about time that he, takes a step back. But when you think about the status of the game, I think it's never been more popular. As you mentioned, Josh, what we witnessed over the weekend were some great games right off the bat. But off the field, it's never been more turbulent and unsettled. And the fact that you don't have Jim Harbaugh, who was the national champion, obviously from Michigan, and Nick Saban, the two singular figures, arguably in the sport, not in the sport right now, tells you the kind of price that you have to pay in order to, sustain it. And a lot of coaches I know from talking to them, they're just completely worn out because it's not just the financial price that's involved in everything here. It's the psychological and it's the emotional and it's the physical toll that's being taken on everybody that's associated with college football right now. And it's just not healthy.
Armen, before I let you go, and I appreciate you jumping on today, speaking of the weekend, one of the games that really stood out to me was the Miami versus Florida game because, and I know Graham Mertz got injured, so that kind of skewed the final score, but there was an obvious difference in the terms of the talent. And on the one hand, you got a guy in Billy Napier who's complaining about the fans, the Florida fans online. And on the other side, you got Mario Cristobal basically whining and dining every booster he can get his hands on. And you're seeing the difference of that on the football field.
No question. I think Mario embraced, John Ruiz, and that's kind of gone away, but John Ruiz from the company called LifeWallet was one of the first big boosters to start writing checks and saying, okay, if it's 10 million, you can count on me. That's kind of dissipated. But Mario has spent a great deal of time, as you said, courting that Miami booster network, which is pretty good when you think about it. They've had a lot of guys, a lot of superstars come out of the U, obviously, from Ray Lewis, on down. So I think what you saw there is you have an athletic department and an athletic director that's bought in. You have a collective that's bought in. You have a head coach that's willing to spend the time and the effort to wine and dine, as you said, the boosters. And then you're basically, your backyard is probably next to Texas, and you can argue one way or the other, a mother lode of 5-star, 4-star Division I talent. That's kind of you look at that now and go, oh, okay, so that's how, when it really works well, and especially now because there aren't a lot of rules, the results that you see is like what you saw on the field.
The book is The Price, What It Takes to Win in College Football's Era of Chaos. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Armen Keteyian, John Talty, incredible insights in the book. Even if you're not a diehard college football fan, you want to learn about what is going on in college football. It's a must read. Armen, I appreciate you joining the show today. Keep up the great work, my man.
My pleasure, Josh. Thank you.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea City. Great stuff there. And, you heard him mention about the fact that, he talked about Arizona. I thought the Arizona chapters are some of the best stuff in the book because you're learning about what schools are doing that isn't just going out and courting the boosters. It's about building relationships. It's about I mean, they talk about how the coaches are flying out to Hawaii to meet with the athletes' parents frequently in order to establish that connection. And I think that all these elements are going to be what it takes to win in college football moving forward. It's not just how much money the Tennessee can give a quarterback who's a 5-star recruit. It's about making decisions about what is best for the program short and long term. And it's an incredible book. We'll stick with the football conversation coming up next. Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joins me right here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Tuesday night.
This is South Jersey's official home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles open the 2024 season this Friday night in Sao Paulo, Brazil, against the Green Bay Packers.
Here comes the rush. They've got him! Jalen Carter.
Listen to all the action with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick with pregame coverage starting at 7 p.m. and kickoff at 8:15. This is the play-by-play home of the Philadelphia Eagles, 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning is having an end-of-summer blowout sale for a limited time only that you won't want to miss. Massive discounts on AC systems, ductless mini splits, and full HVAC replacements when you lock in discounted prices now while supplies last. 18 months interest-free financing available to qualified buyers. Open box and scratch and dent inventory available too for even greater savings. Call Broadleaf's today, your local factory authorized Bryant dealer at 609-390-3907 or visit broadleafs.net. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's the summer closeout sale going on now at Matt Platt Nissan. New Matt Platt Nissan Rogue S under 30 grand, just $29,999 with zero down and just 2.9% for 60 months. Plus, if you're stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released. So bring it to Matt Platt Nissan.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Platt Nissan.
New 2024 Nissan Rogue S, just $29,999 with zero down and 2.9% financing for 60 months. But when they're gone, they're gone. And every new Matt Platt Nissan comes with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Have a job clearing $450 per week at Matt Platt Nissan. You're virtually approved today. MattPlattNissan.com. Unapproved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $589 fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattPlattNissan.com for complete details. VIN RC 738396 MSRP 31115. Offer ends 9/4/24. It's on at Matt Platt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Diego.
Hi, Diego. It's Jennifer Coolidge. I just want to say your cashback match makes me feel so special. It really inspired me.
That's great. Doubling the cashback you've earned at the end of your first year is what we do.
Well, I'm doubling everything now. Double dating, double dipping, double feature, double header, double whammy. Basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Hi, honey. Happy first day back at work. Can't wait to see you tonight. We are so proud of you.
Daddy, love you.
There are many reasons to start recovery. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, we are here to help. Call us. Our trained counselors are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help. Your recovery is within reach. Call 844-REACH-NJ to learn about medication that can support your recovery. A message from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
The new John Deere Gator XUV lets you cut, pack, drive, scout, weld, stack, feed, pull, load, tow, spray, and haul, all in a single day. Because with the highest cargo box volume in its class, customizable features, and a towing capacity of up to 4,000 pounds, it gets the job done. You just have to get in the seat. Learn more at your John Deere dealer or visit johndeere.com/GatorXUV.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win, breakaway, pick six, three-point shot, underdog win, buzzer beater, shootout, walk-off, and absolutely every play in between is amazing. From football to basketball and hockey to baseball, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in New Jersey.
Timmy, everybody. Great job. Next up for our 5th grade class recital, we have Samantha.
10 times better performance can make a big difference. Castrol Edge Motor Oil gives your engine 10 times better high-stress performance. Castrol Edge, better oil for maximum performance. Now through December 28th, Castrol Edge and Edge High Mileage Motor Oil are on rollback at Walmart.
Claim based on sequence 9 tests under high-load conditions versus API SP test limits.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card, good for use at the Ravioli House in Wildwood for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com. Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
We'll get to the football now, as it's been a very interesting last few days around the NFL. And the Eagles themselves made a couple moves today. They have brought back Jack Driscoll and signed basically a depth guy, Kyle Phillips, as receiver. But the Caden Stearns era is done. Caden Stearns is the guy that everybody thought was going to be a something, well, he's gone. So we can all get rid of that conversation. A busy man is Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press. He was on the Pat McAfee show today. And I got to see that, Rob, and I see you're using the same background. So the real question is, Rob, is that background real?
Yes, it is. I overhauled the I mean, I had to put up this incredible backdrop, the wall, and got some helmets in here. Game ball. See the game ball over there that the Eagles gave that to me after I left the beat for the NFL gig that I have now. So they gave that to me for 22 years of service. Of course, we got Birds of Prey up there, a Mike Schmidt book. So little bit of everything. Yeah, I'm sitting in a recliner, not my usual chair that I do the Zooms in, so you can't see everything up here. But I try. Yeah, it took a lot of work, Josh, man. I appreciate you noticing. Thank you.
Well, I'm just curious because I know some guys, they actually have fake backgrounds. They have like a pull down tarp. It's like a fake background of books and stuff behind them. And it looks so real. And you wouldn't know if like people like didn't say something about it, So that's why I was wondering, because like I saw you on McAfee today. I'm like, look at Rob Maaddi with the new background. I'm looking at the background. I'm like, all right, how much of that is real?
I noticed the standard, like everybody's got all these books behind them. And I'm like, I'm not much of a reader. I'm more of a writer. So the only books I'm putting up there are ones that I wrote myself. That's just the way it is right now.
See, I'm a big reader. I already have, when the day comes that I am going to have the need for a backdrop like you have now, when that day comes, because I'm planning on it already, Rob. You gotta prepare for success, right? And
yes,
so I have kept all the books of everyone I've ever interviewed on the radio, so that can be part of my backdrop. So
I like it. Well, do you have a Birds of Prey and Football Faith and Baseball Faith and the Schmitty book?
I don't have those, so I'll have to get my hands on those.
Well, so I just bought my last Schmidt on Amazon because I didn't have my own book. I was out of it.
How do you not have your own book?
Ran out. I wrote the Schmidt book 14 years ago, ran out. And I realized as I was putting this together 2 weeks ago, I was like, shoot, I don't have my Mike Schmidt book. So I went on Amazon and it literally said I paid $25 for a book I wrote
for your own book
years ago. I'm like, shoot. And then I realized, well, I got one Birds of Prey that my daughters wrote in. They scribbled in because they were 3 when it came out.
Right.
That's how long ago the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Went back on Amazon and bought myself another Birds of Prey. I'm like, man, I got to get me some more copies of these. I do have one extra Football Faith and Baseball Faith. So I got you covered there, Josh.
Okay. All right. Enough of our background setups of our virtual studios. Rob, I thought a huge story today wasn't just that Trent Williams got paid by the 49ers, but I always think about, when Andrew Brandt, the former Packers GM and player agent, and he was talking about how deadlines create action, right? And I'm thinking about how, man, Trent Williams, they got that deal done. They got Brandon Ayuk done. Why isn't Hassan Reddick getting done with the Jets, Rob?
That's a great point, Josh. And I've talked to some people about that. And initially, I've been on with you often, and we've talked about this and put 100% of the blame on Joe Douglas and the New York Jets and said, hey, you should have known that this guy's going to want a new contract. You should have known that that's why the Eagles traded him for a third and conditional second if he meets certain criteria and conditions. But I kind of been getting this inclination that there may have been some unkept promises or some conversations that didn't necessarily live up to expectations. I just don't think the Jets are that stupid of an organization. Like, notwithstanding how things transpired last year and the inability to get a backup quarterback because they were afraid of ticking off Aaron Rodgers by having anyone come in and have tremendous success, or however that went down, I can't imagine that they didn't foresee and then make some contingencies and have the conversations. And if you recall, Josh, and a lot of people may have forgotten, but when the trade went down, Hassan Reddick went to, I believe he did an interview with the New York media at team's headquarters, or he was on Zoom at team's headquarters. He did an interview, regardless of where it was, and spoke to the New York media and said that he believes that the contract situation will eventually get sorted out, and he's excited about being on the Jets, and he's looking forward to being part, and he's going to get in and get the work done and let that take care of itself. Somewhere along the way, he decided, and his agent, that he wasn't going to show up for anything, for minicamp, for training camp, for all of it, and accrue all these fines of, I believe it's at $2 million right now, right? So he's at $2 million worth of fines. And it just seems to me that a lot of people in the Jets organization, and Joe Douglas said this last week, that, hey, come in and we'll work on it. So just get there, show up, and we'll work on it. Not let's continue the dialogue from afar and make it happen, and then you come in. So there's a disconnect, and it's surprising because he's the last remaining holdout. The Jets are a team that's in win-now mode, and adding a premier edge rusher who can be disruptive in a game breaker in any game whatsoever, I think would be a significant boost to the Jets trying to end the NFL's longest playoff drought. So looking forward to seeing him in a Jets uniform, and I think that's going to happen at some point. I just cannot imagine, Josh, that Hassan Reddick is going to sit out the season and not get paid. Like, the last guy who did that was Le'Veon Bell. I know Chris Jones last year sat out, was it week 1, right, against the Lions, and the Chiefs lost that game. But I can't imagine Reddick is going to be in this for the long haul. He's not going to get paid at all. And what good is it then to sit out? So we got a Monday night game for the Jets against the 49ers. So the urgency to have it done today, like, Trent Williams is in. Hassan, you might want to get there sooner. You're running out of time. He may not play week 1 because he's nowhere close to being done. But I can't imagine it being for the long term.
And the irony of this conversation is, while we were talking about Hassan Reddick, the Jets just gave Michael Carter a 3-year, $30.75 million extension. So the Jets are spending money, Rob. They're just not spending on Hassan Reddick.
$337.5. They're spending the money. They've got a guy in there. I don't know how you make it work, whether it's give him more money up front for this season and let him test free agency afterwards, but guarantee him somehow $20 million for 2024. Hassan Reddick's going to be money well spent, New York Jets. Joe Douglas, he's going to be money well spent, because if it's a 1-year guaranteed deal for 2021, 22, whatever, somewhere in that range, he's going to want to go out there and prove himself. And all he's done is get to the quarterback. 27 sacks over the past 2 seasons for the Eagles, and plus several more in the playoff run. We know what he can do, especially when he's motivated. I think he's constantly felt like he was disrespected, whether it was when he was drafted, whether it was by the Cardinals, whether it was in Carolina, then going to the Eagles. I feel like Hassan Reddick has constantly felt like he's got to prove himself. And at this point, it certainly looks that way too, because the Jets haven't stepped up and given him that money to make him one of the elite paid, highest paid edge rushers in the NFL.
My favorite Hassan Reddick stat is he has 4 straight years of double-digit sacks, Rob, for 4 different defensive coordinators.
Wow. That's a good stat right there.
Like to me, I would tell Hassan Reddick just to hire me, I'll get the deal done. Like, to me, that's the argument to the Jets. It's like, it doesn't matter what you think. This guy has been productive with every coach he's ever worked with in the last 4 years. So it's like, that alone should tell you, just give him something.
Yeah, and I trusted him. I believe he's going to get it done, no matter who's his coordinator or wherever he ends up. He's going to make this happen. He's going to get done. He's going to get to the quarterback. He's going to impact these games, and he certainly would be such a great addition for the New York, who already have a pretty stingy defense. One of the top 10 defenses in the NFL. And with a healthy Aaron Rodgers, with some weapons around him, with the ability to run the football that they can do and control the clock a little bit. And obviously we know what Aaron can do if he puts it up in the air. That defense and that team, to me, could win the AFC East. And get it done. Get Reddick in there. Make it happen. I forget if I picked them. Yeah, I did. I picked them to win the East.
Associated Press senior NFL writer Rob Maaddi joining us. A couple more before I let you go. What is your take on all these players who are complaining about going to Brazil? You know, I mean, this feels like the NFL did not plan for this very well. I got to be honest. I mean, there's so much misinformation out there about the whole green color thing, and there's misinformation out there about a lot of stuff. And it's like the NFL has chosen to not really, you would think that maybe NFL PR will call you or somebody else, Rob, and be like, hey, here's some information. Put the right information out there. And the NFL is just letting this spin in the air. And you have all these players disgruntled. This is turning out to be not a good look for the league, Rob.
Yeah, Josh. And you know what? I did make a call, and I got to follow up because our schedules did not align, and it was exactly for that reason to talk about Brazil and the game, because you hear all these exaggerated and this and that. But that said, all of that said, the players who are complaining have a legitimate gripe, right? You have to disrupt what is it, and they always complain if it's a disruptive flow of the work week. But to get on a plane, to travel that far, and then to have to play a football game on foreign turf and in a neutral site and all of that, notwithstanding how awesome it is for the NFL and the first ever game in South America. And I'm sure some guys will appreciate that. And oh my goodness, we're part of history here. It's just inconvenient. And what we know about most people, not just I don't want to say diva athletes, most people don't want to be inconvenienced. I don't like to be inconvenienced myself. I had zero interest in attempting to cover that game. I didn't reach out to my bosses, my editors, and pitch it to get on a plane for 15 hours or however long it is to get to Brazil and just sit and no. So I get it. I get where these players are coming from. But I will say this. The NFL did say, Peter O'Reilly from the NFL, one of the league executives who's kind of his department is leading the international development and the players and the programs and growing the game internationally. He said, we're in it for the long haul with Brazil. He said that last Thursday, that they're in it for the long haul. So they're looking at making Brazil an annual game. Interestingly enough, Brazil has the third most NFL fans of any country in the world. I believe the number was 36 million NFL fans in Brazil.
Wow.
Right? So you got the US 1, Mexico was 2, and Brazil was 3rd. So when you have a fan base that huge in a country like that, no wonder that the NFL is so interested in growing the game in that market, because we all know what controls everything. It comes down to dollars and cents, and it's more dollars and more marketing and more money for everybody involved. So Brazil's not going to go away, barring anything catastrophic happening, and we hope nothing happens, that the Eagles get in there, the Packers get in there, the game goes fantastic, and the Eagles get out of there with the W that I'm predicting, and we move on.
Rob, before I let you go, I want to know, what is the game that has you most intrigued about NFL Week One?
If it's not the Eagles-Packers, because I really want to see what the Eagles look like with two new coordinators, but that's maybe the homer in me a little bit, right? I'll have to say the Niners and the Jets. Like, look at the Niners, what they've gone through since losing the Super Bowl, and add in that Ricky Pearsall getting shot over the weekend and what could have been a horrible tragedy. Thank God it didn't develop. And now they get Trent Williams back and Christian McCaffrey, and then the Jets and Aaron Rodgers back. So I can't wait to see Aaron Rodgers play more than 4 snaps. So certainly the Jets, 49ers. And then if I had to go one more, I'd go Browns, Cowboys. I don't think the Browns are going to live up to last year's expectations and the team that made the playoffs. And a lot of people counting the Cowboys a little bit down, myself included. I don't think they win a division. I just want to see how they bounce back in that one. And, oh, by the way, a guy named Brady's going to announce his first game, too, in that one.
He's Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press. Give him a follow on the Twitter X platform at Rob Maaddi. Check out all of his coverage at the AP about the NFL. And, of course, he joins us each week on 97.3 ESPN. And don't forget Faith on the Field Saturday and Sunday mornings right here on 97.3 ESPN. Does Rob Maaddi already know who his guest is for this weekend?
It may be Derrick Henry or Eli Manning.
Oh.
One or the other.
That's a tease.
Yeah. So if not,
tune in to find out.
Yeah, tune in to find out. Faith on the Field this week.
Rob, always appreciate you jumping on, my friend. Take care of yourself.
You got it. Thank you, Josh.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. Great stuff there from Rob. I thought what he said was interesting at the end there, where he said, he talked about the Browns might not be as good, but Dallas won't be as good as last year either. And it goes to remind us all about how in the football world, we sometimes forget how often teams go from worst to first. It happens pretty much every year in the NFL. There's a team that was bad the year before who's great the next year. And I think that is a huge part of the conversation for all of us, which is, what is the team that is going to make the biggest difference? Thanks again to Armen, Keteyian, and Rob Maaddi for joining me on the Power Hour known as Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. I'm Josh Hennig. Catch you tomorrow.
Hey, it's Tom P., host of Rack and Fin Radio, inviting you to join me every Saturday morning at 7 here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Each week, we discuss the hot topics affecting the sportsmen and sportswomen in New Jersey. Hunting, fishing, boating, conservation, and Second Amendment topics are some of the issues that are covered in depth.
Rack and Fin Radio is brought to you by Utch's Marina.
That's Rack and Fin Radio with me, Tom P., every Saturday morning at 7 on 97.3 ESPN FM, South Jersey's sports leader.